India says it can now intercept ballistic missiles at ranges previously reserved for a small club of military powers. On paper, that sounds defensive. But across South Asia, many analysts see a different story unfolding. Because when one country builds a shield against missiles, its rivals rarely feel safer. They usually build bigger swords. And that is why India's latest missile defense tests matter far beyond the launch site in Odisha. Over 2 days in June, India conducted 3 consecutive flight tests designed to demonstrate a multi-layered ballistic missile defense capability. According to India's Ministry of Defense, the interceptors successfully engaged their targets and showcased the country's ability to counter long-range ballistic missile threats. Officials even suggested the system could eventually engage threats up to the Intercontinental ballistic missile category. If those claims hold up, India would move closer to joining a small group of countries with advanced missile defense capabilities, including the United States, Russia, China, and Israel. But the real story is not the technology itself. The real story is what this technology could do to the strategic balance in one of the world's most heavily armed regions. To understand why, we need some context. India sits between 2 nuclear-armed rivals, Pakistan and China. It has fought wars with both countries and continues to face unresolved territorial disputes with each. Over the past decade, New Delhi has invested heavily in military modernization, domestic defense production, and advanced missile systems. Last year, India announced plans to develop a multi-layered air and missile defense network by 2035. The project aims to defend against ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and even hypersonic weapons. The recent tests appear to be an important step toward that goal. Supporters argue that stronger missile defenses improve national security. Critics argue that they could trigger a new phase of military competition across South Asia. And that takes us to the first major revelation. India's missile shield could change how its rivals calculate risk. For decades, nuclear deterrence in South Asia rested on a simple principle. Both sides maintained the ability to retaliate after an attack. That mutual vulnerability discouraged escalation. Missile defense systems complicate that equation. If a country believes it can intercept incoming missiles, it may feel more confident during a crisis. At the same time, its rivals may worry that their deterrent is becoming less effective. Whether that perception proves accurate matters less than the fact that decision-makers believe it. Pakistan already maintains a large inventory of short and medium-range ballistic missiles. China possesses a much larger and more sophisticated missile force that includes intercontinental ballistic missiles, capable of reaching targets across the globe. Neither country can afford to ignore advances in Indian missile defense capabilities. As a result, India's shield may encourage its rivals to develop more missiles, more warheads, and more advanced penetration technologies designed to overwhelm defenses. And that creates a paradox. A system designed to increase security can sometimes increase competition instead. But the military dimension is only part of the story. The second revelation is that these tests support India's ambition to become a fully independent military technology power. For years, India relied heavily on imported defense equipment. Russian aircraft, French fighters, Israeli systems, and American technologies all became important parts of its arsenal. Today, New Delhi wants something different. The government has launched a broad push for defense self-reliance. Officials want Indian companies and research institutions to design, build, and maintain critical military systems at home. The Defense Research and Development Organization, or DRDO, sits at the center of that effort. These missile defense tests, therefore, represent more than a military achievement. They represent an industrial and technological statement. India wants to demonstrate that it can build sophisticated strategic systems without depending entirely on foreign suppliers. That goal carries major geopolitical implications. Countries with advanced indigenous defense industries gain greater strategic freedom. They can sustain military programs for decades without worrying about foreign restrictions or political pressure. For New Delhi, missile defense is not just about protection. It is also about status, influence, and strategic autonomy. But that ambition raises an even bigger question about the future of the region. The third revelation is that South Asia may be entering a new phase of the missile race. Recent conflicts in the Middle East highlighted the growing importance of air and missile defense. Israeli, American, and regional systems intercepted large numbers of incoming missiles and drones during periods of intense confrontation. Military planners around the world took notice. India clearly did as well. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh recently pointed to those conflicts while emphasizing the importance of creating a multi-layered defense network. From New Delhi's perspective, the lesson seems obvious. Future wars will involve large missile barrages, and countries without effective defenses could face severe consequences. But Pakistan and China will draw lessons too. Military competition rarely moves in one direction. If India improves interception capabilities, competitors may focus on saturation attacks using larger missile salvos. They may invest in maneuverable warheads, hypersonic systems, decoys, or other technologies designed to defeat missile shields. The result could be an accelerating cycle of action and reaction. One side builds defenses. The other side builds stronger offensive capabilities. Then the cycle repeats. And that dynamic could shape South Asian security for years to come. So what does all of this mean? For South Asia, it means military modernization is entering a new stage. The region's security competition no longer revolves only around missiles. It increasingly revolves around the ability to stop missiles as well. For China, India's progress represents another factor in an already complex strategic rivalry. Beijing will continue monitoring developments closely, especially if New Delhi expands the system's range and sophistication. For Pakistan, the tests reinforce pressure to ensure that its deterrent remains credible under changing conditions. And for the wider world, these developments highlight an important reality. Missile defense systems do not exist in isolation. Every new shield influences the calculations of countries that possess swords. That does not automatically mean conflict becomes more likely. But it does mean the strategic environment becomes more complicated and potentially more unstable if political tensions rise. The most important takeaway is simple. Missile defense systems may intercept missiles, but they cannot intercept mistrust. And mistrust remains the most powerful force shaping South Asia's security landscape.